Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Most parts of the country will continue to experience rains due to the southwest monsoon, according to Pagasa.
President Bongbong Marcos says more public markets will soon offer the 20 peso per kilo rice.
Employees planning to resign from scam hubs in Myanmar are reportedly being electrocuted.
The Zeus Coffee Thunderbell storm into the win column in the PVL On Tour after defeating the Capital One Solar Spikers.
First in the news, the PNP Region 9 has launched an investigation into the alleged mauling of a male student by two schoolmates inside a campus in Basilan. The victim was initially brought to a hospital in Isabela City but was later transferred to a medical facility in Zamboanga City for treatment of serious injuries. Authorities said the victim's parents have filed a report with the Isabela City Police Station and intend to press charges against the attackers. The suspects are now in the joint custody of the local police and the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, office in Isabela City. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno has moved to ban noisy motorcycles in the city. The details in this report by Mobile Journal, Denise Valdez Sancho.
Goodbye modified mufflers. Hello peaceful Manila nights. Operations to confiscate motorcycles with open or modified mufflers began as per the orders of Manila Mayor Isko Moreno. This is backed by the recently signed Executive Order No. 4, strictly enforcing the Motor Vehicle Modified Muffler Noise Regulation.
Karapatan din ng tao ng pangkalahatan sa hating gabi, mahimbing siyang matulog. So, ang punto namin bilang gobyerno, again, wag na ninyong gawin yan. Saka sayang lang, kagastos lang kayo dyan, wala namang kapararakan.
Under Ordinance No. 8772, motorcycle mufflers exceeding 99 decibels shall be confiscated, and an ordinance violation receipt will be issued. Violators will be fined 1,000 pesos for the first offense. Succeeding offenses are 2,000 and 3,000 pesos respectively. Moreno also clarified that motorcycles with 400cc engines are exempt from the said ordinance. Meanwhile, motorcycle riders expressed their reaction to the ordinance.
Nagmamotor din ako, di naman kailangan yun. Di naman parang pang-plastic lang nila yun siguro para pagtinginan sila. Pwedeng gumamit, pwedeng hindi. Huwag na lang siguro kasi maingay kasi yun. Nakakabulabog sa mga residente.
Chris, a resident, expressed her frustration with motorcycle riders using noisy mufflers.
Bilang sa akin lang po is nakakabulabog po kasi siya sa mga nakakapaligid po sa atin. Tapos lalo po sakit po sa tenga.
Moreno assured the public that their once sleepless nights will soon be replaced with peace and orderliness. In a report by the Manila Police District, 13 modified mufflers were already seized on the first day of enforcement during checkpoints in Tondo. Meanwhile, Moreno clarified that sellers and installers of modified exhaust pipes are not covered by the said ordinance, pointing out that the violation lies solely in the act of using these illegal mufflers on public roads.
Ano ang magandang solusyon? Wag na. Gamitin nyo na lang yan. Hindi naman tutulin yan. Dahil malakas yung... Kung gusto niyo na matulin, bili kayo ng big bike. Kailangan namin pakinggan yung kahilingan ng taong bayan na matulog ng mahimbing at mapayapa, walang gulo sa ating gabi sa lungsod ng Maynila.
Mobile journalist Denise Valdez Sancho. We are One News.
Now in other news, the catastrophic flooding in Texas has claimed at least 69 lives so far, with children among the most affected victims. Here is a report.
The devastating floods in central Texas have now claimed at least 69 lives, including 21 children, as emergency crews continue searching for the missing. Kirk County, the epicenter of the flooding, recorded 59 deaths, according to Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Another 10 people died in surrounding areas, while 41 remain unaccounted for. One of the hardest hit locations was Camp Mystic, a nearly 100-year-old Christian girls' summer camp where 11 campers and one counselor are still missing.
It was nothing short of horrific to see what those young children went through. And we will remain 100% dedicated, searching for every single one of the children who were at Camp Mystic, as well as anybody else in the entire riverbed.
The flooding began Friday during U.S. Independence Day celebrations when torrential rains caused the Guadalupe River to overflow. The National Weather Service has extended flood warnings across Central as more rain is forecast, threatening to further complicate rescue operations.
There are dangers over the next 24 to 48 hours that could pose public safety threats to people in these regions. There is heavy rainfall that's already occurred, and there's more heavy rainfall that's expected that will lead to potential flash flooding.
In response, President Donald Trump has declared a major disaster. The Department of Homeland Security says FEMA is now actively coordinating with local first responders.
The NDRRMC says more than 13,000 individuals have been affected by the combined effects of Typhoon Danas and the southwest monsoon. Of the total affected, 18 individuals are currently staying in evacuation centers, while over 3,000 others have received aid outside these sites. No casualties, injuries, or missing persons have been reported. However, 13 houses were damaged by heavy rains and strong winds. Flooding has also been reported in 27 areas across central Luzon. Meanwhile, Pag-asa said that 10 to 18 tropical cyclones may still enter or form within the Philippine area of responsibility before the end of 2025, although they are not expected to be as intense as those from last year.
Kasi last year is La Nina. Kapag ka La Nina kasi yung surrounding waters natin near the Philippines ay warmer yung kanyang sea surface temperature and fuel ito of course ng tropical cyclones.
Now, Typhoon Bising has slightly weakened as it moves over the northwestern portion of Taiwan. Meanwhile, the southwest monsoon is expected to bring heavy rains over parts of the country. For the latest, we have Pag-asa weather specialist Veronica Torres joining us via Zoom. Good morning.
Good morning to you and all of our audience at One News.
Nasaan po ngayon si Typhoon Bising at kailan po siya lalabas ng Philippine Area Responsibility?
Opo, actually, yung 4 a.m. location natin ni Bising nasa 405 kilometers northwest ng Itbayat, Batanes. However, kanina 5 a.m., ito ay lumabas na nga ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility. So currently, wala naman itong direktang epekto sa kahit na anong parte din ng ating bansa.
So hindi na to lalabas katulad nung babalik, no? Kasi if I remember it correctly, nung weekend sabi daw babalik dito sa atin nung Sunday.
Opo, actually, yesterday, pumasok po ito muli ng ating PAR, kagabi po. And then, dahil sa may bandang northwestern boundary lang naman ito ng PAR, ay agad din naman itong lumabas ng ating area of responsibility.
Yan, Veronica, sinabi mo na wala naman direct effect na itong Typhoon Bising sa atin, no? Pero do we expect rains these next few days and because of what weather system?
Opo. So although wala namang na-epekto itong si Bising or si may international name na Danas sa any parts of our country, inaasahan pa nga rin natin yung habagat o southwest monsoon na posible pa rin na magdala ng mga occasional rains sa may Ilocos region, Zambales, Bataan. So kapag occasional rains, posible yung maulan pa rin almost all throughout the day pero may bugso ng moderate to heavy rains. And then yung habagat pa rin, southwest monsoon, magdadala ng maulap na papawirin at mga kalat-kalat na pupulan, pagkilat at pagkulog sa Metro Manila, Cagayan Valley, sa may Cordillera Administrative Region, sa may Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Western Visayas, Negros Island Region, Zamboanga Peninsula, Barm, at nalalabing bahagi ng Central Luzon. For the rest of the country, better weather in-expect, although may chances pa rin ng mga localized thunderstorms.
And then, are we also monitoring other weather disturbances outside our Philippine area of responsibility na maaring pumasok sa ating bansa within the week?
Opo, maliban nga kay Danas, bagyong Danas na dating si Bising, wala na tayo ibang namomonitor na low pressure area or bagyo sa loob or malapit sa ating Philippine Area of Responsibility.
Veronica, no, itong huling report namin before ito, no, sabi ng Pag-asa daw ay we can expect, I think 18 or 18, at least 18 more na bagyo. No? Pero clarify na they won't be as strong as they were the last year. When you mean they won't be as strong in terms of wind ba ito or in terms of rain volume?
Opo, so possible po ang pag-determine naman natin ng lakas ng bagyo ay sa lakas naman po ng hangin. Although not ruled out pa rin yung iba't ibang kategory ng bagyo na posible pa rin pumasok sa ating area of responsibility this year po.
Alright, with that, maraming salamat sa iyong oras sa Pag-asa Weather Specialist Veronica Torres.
Thank you po.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. President Bongbong Marcos has vowed to expand the administration's 20 peso per kilo rice program. Here's the report.
President Bongbong Marcos assures the public that 20 peso per kilo rice is here to stay. In his latest vlog, the president announced that affordable rice will soon be available in more public markets across the country. Currently, it is offered to vulnerable sectors, including senior citizens, solo parents, persons with disabilities, indigent families, and minimum wage earners.
Hindi lang po ito pop-up store na mawawala naman pagkatapos na masimulan. 20 peso rice is here to stay. It is achievable, it is sustainable. Kaya abangan ninyo in your nearest public market.
This initiative was one of Marcos's key campaign promises, aimed at easing the impact of high food prices and strengthening local agriculture. Marcos also stressed the importance of collaboration between national and local governments to expand the program's reach. To support farmers, the National Food Authority continues to buy palay at prices of up to 23 pesos per kilo, regardless of retail rice prices.
Kahit ano pa ang maging presyo ng bigas, hindi po bababa. Dito ang pagbili ng NFA sa palay mula sa ating mga magsasaka.
According to the Department of Agriculture, the program has already distributed over 804,000 kilos of rice.
Hindi ko lang alam nung when they launched this 20 bigas,
Yeah, 20
parang
bigas program.
BBM, 'di ba? Na kasama ba dun sa budget na nilabas silang una yung billions of pesos na ma-expand ito? Remember? Kasi di ba before, it was just for the PWDs, solo parents.
Tsaka sa Visayas.
At saka senior citizen. Oo.
Di ba, the initial launch to the sa Visayas area ito, they wanted to try it in that area before they expand to others. But gagawin nilang case study pa kasi yung mga specific target.
Kasi prior to the launch of this program, yun nga, di ba, binabatikos yung laki ng billion ng program na fund na kakailanganin dito para ma-subsidize nga yung mga bigas at maibenta in 20 pesos. Pero I'm not sure lang kung kasama doon sa billions of pesos na I forgot lang the exact amount, yung expansion nito.
But make no mistake, sabi rin ng ibang mga analysts that this is not the same as the campaign promise ni PBBM na 20 pesos per kilo rice. Kasi
highly subsidized.
What was promised was an actual selling price ng bigas. Because of lowering
sa market talaga.
Farm-to-market cost, middleman cost, presyo ng fertilizer, presyo ng palay. This is not it. This is merely a subsidized program na akin to an ayuda. Sabi nga nila, bakit pa naglagay ng 20 pesos?
And taxpayers, money pa rin, yung umiiral dito.
Kasi meron na tayong food stamp program, meron na tayong ayuda, which gives sa people na walang pera access to cheaper costs. So bakit karon daw magkakaroon ng long-term na ganito?
Kasi inaasar daw siya na yung 20 pesos. I-push natin yung 20 pesos.
That's still not the promise. The promise was an organic stimulated price decrease to 20 pesos per kilo, meaning organic naturally dahil sa mga programa mo bumaba ang presyo.
Yes, especially yung usapin ng pagbili ng mga sa middlemen, sa farmers ng bigas. Kasi sabi nga nila, yung mga farmers mostly walang mga dryers yan eh. So pag naani nila yan, automatic nagmamadali na sila mabenta yan, which is let's say for example, pag kinuha ng mga middlemen, okay na sila dun sa presyo kaysa mabulok sa kanila yung ano. So magandang gawin ng pamahalaan dyan, which is also was mentioned ng mga rice advocates and Senator Kiko Pangilinan na magkaroon ng mga dryers talaga dito sa atin. Mabigyan ng dryers yung ating mga magsasaka. In that case, in that way, hindi na sila madali na magbenta ng ng mga yung mga wet pallets nila sa middlemen. Kaya naglulugi kasi sila in that part.
Basta pag-aralan nila yung transport costs, yun ang pinakamalaki. Because yun ang 40%, 30% of the price comes from the transport cost, delivery cost. So walang magawa naman kasi si stall. Yung kunyari may stall ka sa Metro Manila, papatungan mo talaga ng gusto. Dahil dumating sa'yo, 35 to 40 pesos na Bebenta mo ng 60 yung mga magagandang well-milled rice. So, pag-aralan nila yun. Alright, Japan is preparing to transfer several of its decommissioned naval ships to the Philippines, according to a report by Japanese newspaper Yomiuri Shimbun. The two governments have reportedly reached an agreement involving the export of 6 Abukuma-class destroyer escorts. The report said the move is intended to improve interoperability with the Philippine military and enhance joint deterrence and response capabilities amid growing regional tensions with China. Japanese Defense Minister Minoru Kihara and Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro reportedly confirmed the arrangement during a meeting in Singapore in June 2025. The Abukuma-class ships commissioned between 1989 and 1993 are gradually being phased out by Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force due to personnel shortages. Each ship is about 109 meters long, has a displacement of 2,000 tons, and carries a crew of around 120. They are equipped with anti-submarine and anti-ship missiles but lack helicopter facilities due to their smaller size. Yun, so these decommissioned ships, nililinaw naman ng Japan, are not decommissioned because they're aging or they're...
Yun na nga mas natin.
No,
Doon tayo sa second hand.
No, you have to remember these ships, even the US ones and the South Koreans and the Japanese, they're designed to be upgraded for a long period of time, meaning...
Pero this was commissioned 1989 and 1993.
Pero you have to remember these ships, may skeleton system to, na you can just plug and play different new technology. For example, yung mga anti-submarine missiles na ito, i-remove mo lang yung old missile system, pwede mo ipasok yung bagong missile
so, okay
system.
na yun, gagana pa rin
parang
naman.
kotse yan, na gusto mo papalitan mo ng mag wheels, enhance mo makina. Yung shell might be old, pero yung upgrades pwede mangyari. Now,
kasi ito yung if you phase out na sa Japan,
yes, so
ibigay sa atin.
As I said nga kanina, these are not really decommissioned due to luma at di na gumagana. They are decommissioned because hindi na ma-maintain ng Japanese naval fleet because lack of
personal shortages.
So these ships are may anti-submarine weapons sila, may anti-ship weapons which the Philippines does not have. So welcome to yung destroyer boats, wala talaga tayong destroyer boats.
Wala tayong ganyan So this is part of
ang wala rin after this destroyer boats na kung kinuha natin to, ang wala sa atin naman ay mga aircraft carrier type na pwedeng patungan ng helicopter. Pero ito, may mga capability na to detect submarines and enemy ships. Not saying that we're going to do that, we're going to fire missiles.
At least we're ready.
It's just deterrence. Ang word is to deter.
At least that we have. Alright, Coast Guard spokesperson Commodore J. Tariala has filed a cyber libel complaint against blogger Sasot. Sasot, known for her pro-Duterte post and large following, faces accusations of cyber libel for allegedly spreading false and malicious information about him. The complaint details several posts made by Sasot online, which Tariala said contained defamatory statements presented as fact but lacking supporting evidence. Sasot's posts included claims of Tariala allegedly receiving $4 million from the U.S. government, participating in an operation which calls Project Atlantis.
A disturbing video showing a naked man being tortured is allegedly used as a warning to employees planning to resign from scam hubs in Myanmar. Here's the report.
A naked man, his hands and feet in restraints, is being electrocuted while lying on a bed. This disturbing footage is being circulated as a warning video to employees of scam hubs in Myanmar who are planning to resign. According to Gladys, a Filipina and former scam farm worker in Myanmar, employees are threatened with violence whenever they show any sign of wanting to escape. Worse, some fellow Filipinos are allegedly reporting their own kababayans to Chinese bosses, especially those trying to seek help from the government.
Yung wag nang magtitiwala kahit kanino, tsaka yung wag maging padalos-dalos. Ganun, kailangan patience ka sa lahat ng bagay. Hindi pwedeng kailangan mamadaliin.
Beyond electrocution and beatings, many Filipinas in these scam hubs have reportedly been raped, with some now pregnant. The Civil Society Network for Human Trafficking Assistance reported that over 100 Filipinos have already appealed for rescue. Victims are typically promised call center jobs with monthly salaries ranging from 50,000 to 60,000 pesos. Despite lacking proper documentation, many are lured in by the offer, only to be forced into romance and cryptocurrency scams upon arrival.
They would go to Thailand, misrepresent themselves as tourists, at alam naman po natin sa Thailand, they can go to the border, not even using plane, no? May panahon by boat lang, hindi nila alam, pupunta na pala sila sa border at sila ay papasok na. Sila ay na-recruit na ng sindikato.
The Bureau of Immigration has begun internal cleansing to remove officers allegedly involved in facilitating these illegal departures. A report from the Philippine Police Attaché in Thailand noted that many of those falling victim to scam jobs across Southeast Asia are former POGO employees.
Now, joining us now to talk about the growing concern over human trafficking and the illegal recruitment of Filipinos, particularly in connection with scam hubs operating in parts of Southeast Asia, we have BI Deputy Spokesperson Melvin Mabulak joining us via Zoom. Magandang umaga po sa inyo. Thanks for joining us again.
Hi Angela, magandang umaga po. Magandang umaga sa lahat ng nanonood sa inyong programa.
Sir, paano po ba itong mga sindikato na to nakakapag-bypass ng immigration or dun sa mga border checks natin? Kasi nakikita po natin, naalis po dito yung mga Pilipino as tourists. Pagdating dun, magtatrabaho na po sila.
Opo, based po sa mga repatriated, no? Majority po dyan, almost 50% po yan dumadaan sa backdoor, which is very... Medyo napakahaba po at that's why we are really in coordination with the Philippine Coast Guard and other local government units. There are some na magaganda talaga ito yung profile. This is not like before ng mga nabibiktima ng trafficking na medyo makikita mo kagad. Sila, they are well-traveled. Maganda yung profile nila. That's why there really is a challenge na ginagawa natin. And our officers, marami po tayong na i-endorse almost daily. Marami po tayong na-endorse sa ating Interagency Council dito sa ating airport. Pag nakita natin may red flags na possibility ito, sila ay lalabas ng bansa, misrepresenting themselves as tourists, but end up actually working doon sa mga scam at nagbibiktima sila. Yan po ang nakikita natin na mga modus operandi nila ngayon.
So, sir, yung sinasabi mo well-traveled, no? So, these are legitimate, well-traveled, hindi fake passport. So, parang mas mahirap po ang trabaho ngayon ng BI in identifying these people. Paano po ang gagawin natin ngayon in terms of, kasi right now may mga spot check kayo na may mga interviews based sa mga red flags na meron sana kayo. Pero given this na sinabi mo, ano po ang upgrade natin to identify these people?
We have to understand this. It is all started with the recruitment sa social media. That's why kailangan talaga natin ng interagency collaboration. Dahil ang immigration, this is the last touch na po.
Right.
It started from the recruitment, kumukuha sila ng mga dokumento. Ibig sabihin, our approach would not only start at the airport. The approach should be at the community. Kaya ang ating Interagency Council, kasama din po yung education sa ating mga kababayan na pag mayroong mga recruitment through social media na hindi dumadaan sa PUA, dapat red flag na yan. Kasi ang ating batas po, if you're working abroad, dapat dumaan po kayo sa DMW o sa PUA. Dahil at least mayroon pong accountable agencies na pwedeng managot sa'yo pag hindi masunod yung kontrata. Ang nagiging challenge natin, may mga kababayan pa rin tayo na dumadaan sa social media yung kanilang paghahanap ng trabaho at hindi nila chine-check doon sa PUA, which is basically very challenging na kasi itong mga taong to ay mga bata pa, mga educated, but still sila ay naloloko ng mga sindikatong ito.
But also, are we also looking at officers po sa BI na do we have reports on that na maaaring kasabot din po sila doon sa mga cases po natin na dumadaan naman po hindi po dumadaan sa backdoor channel Meron po ba tayong reports on that na baka po may mga gumagalaw din po inside para matulungan po itong mga Pilipino natin na makaalis?
Opo, tinitingnan po natin. Kaya kung sa immigration kasi, maliban lang sa primary inspection sa counter, mayroon tayong redundancy check na ginagawa ng ating iProofs. Ibig sabihin, kahit na-clear mo na, pag nakita natin ang officer natin ng iProofs, this is a unit created pursuant to the mandate ng anti-trafficking, chine-check pa rin nila. This is redundancy checking. Ibig sabihin, ang ating opisina hindi lang nag-create ng isang unit na dedicated for anti-trafficking. Still, we augmented as well yung monitoring natin. Yung lahat ng ating mga airports ngayon, mayroon po yung mga CCTV. Kaya if ever magkaroon ng attempt, it is easy for us to collect the information at nakita. At mayroon na tayong mga na-recommend, na sampulan, na sila ay na-recommend natin sa Department of Justice for filing administrative case, at sa DOJ din, nakita din nila, they are also recommending filing for criminal cases. Ibig sabihin po, we are not tolerating this.
Right.
We are very strict on this, at hindi lang po ang approach po hindi lang po dapat sa immigration, even before sa immigration, dapat maging stricto na tayo, dapat lahat ng mga recruitment through social media, dapat na monitor din po natin ng ating law enforcement agency dahil sila po ay may capability sa cybercrime.
Spokes, with regards to yung mga Pilipino natin na naiipit na ngayon within the scam farms, at na gusto na umuwi, no? Do we recommend na tumakas sila, or physically they should just report and they will be rescued? And available ba ang help ng Philippine government regardless kung dumaan sila sa backdoor or sa proper immigration channels?
Opo, yung ating Department of Foreign Affairs, mayroon po silang very active on this, no? Kung nakita natin yung mga previous na na-repat, karamihan doon, mga backdoor doon, but still they are offered ng services ng rescue ng ating gobyerno. At ang ating Interagency Council, hindi lang po ito nagsisimula doon sa DFA, mayroon ng DSWD na tumutulong, at nire-review po nila pag dumating din po dito, nagkakaroon po ng investigation para makita kung ang pag-alis nila previously ay talagang tinulungan ng isang government personnel na pwedeng kasuhan. Yan po ang nangyayari ngayon. Ibig sabihin po, ang approach po in rescuing them and providing help, it is a whole government approach po.
Pero
with regards to that lang, yung word rescue, no? So, kasi may madaming agam-agam among yung mga kababayan natin. Baka naman pag bumalik sila, in danger sila, pero gusto nila bumalik, dumaan sa backdoor, baka naman feeling nila may kasuhan daw sila dito.
They are considered, no, I'm not a lawyer, but when we look into the trafficking issue, pag biktima sila, they are considered victim talaga.
Okay.
Hindi sila kakasuhan dahil biktima sila.
Okay.
Opo, yun po ang treatment sa kanila. Ang medyo may nakita lang tayong mga cases na na-rescue na natin, sila ay nabiktima ng trafficking, but still the next time nag-attempt na naman sila umalis, representing tourists, tapos nabiktima na naman. Ibig sabihin po, we need cooperation din ng ating mga kababayan. Dahil hindi naman ito magagawa ng ating gobyerno. Government is doing everything. But nakita natin mayroong na biktima, still the next time magpaparecruit na naman sila at i-rescue na naman natin. Yan po ang nakikita natin.
But speaking of a backdoor channel po, I understand na wala po talagang specific na batas na nagbabawal po na gamitin yung backdoor channel. And this was also discussed before here on the show. Pero ano pong ginagawa ng BI para po hindi na po talagang gamitin yung route na yon, 'di ba? We had si Alice Go na ginamit yon, supposed allegedly si Harry Roque, diba? So what are we doing po para kahit papaano maiwasan po yung paggamit ng channel na yon?
Opo, we are strengthening yung ating coordination with Coast Guard Navy. Last year ang ating Interagency Council with the help of Coast Guard pumunta po yan, inikot po yung mga possible na mga backdoors na ginagamit ng mga nabibiktima ng trafficking. Inikot po nila doon sa Palawan, Balabac, pumunta po sila sa Bungaw. Yan po ang tinitingnan natin at alam po natin itong mga areas na this is traditional route even before nagkaroon tayo, ginagamit na po ito. Ang naging problema lang ginamit ng masasamang loob. At yan po ang ating mga programs ngayon. We are strengthening coordination with Coast Guard at the PNP, yung maritime nila, at Philippine Navy, including din po yung local government units kasi mayroon silang mga tao na andoon. Ang local government units ay under naman ng DILG, wherein sila ay member ng Interagency Council Against Trafficking. Ang ating pakikipag-ugnayan sa kanila, yan po talaga ang makakapagbigay ng solusyon nito dahil kahit anong bansa naman, pag in terms of border security, it's not only the immigration's duty but at the same time lahat po ng mayroong mga jurisdiction doon tinitingnan din po, kaya kailangan namin sa immigration ang pakikipag-ugnayan and we are currently doing that.
Spokes, is exiting, para linawin ko lang, and for the education of our viewers, is exiting the Philippines by a Filipino through the backdoor channel considered illegal? And if so, ano po ang liability ng isang taong lumabas sa backdoor or wala sa batas ito?
Dapat lahat ng entry and exit dapat tumaan sa formal port, no?
Yeah.
Kasi immigration, kung titingnan natin, luma na kasi yung Philippine Immigration Act 1940 pa.
Yeah.
Ang pure immigration, we designate, we assign personnel doon sa nationally recognized entry points and exit points na in-identify ng national government. Kaya andoon yung tinatawag natin CIQ, Custom, Immigration, and Quarantine.
Yes.
Yan po sila. If hindi po sila dumaan sa mga formal entry and exit, mayroon tayong ugnayan sa Coast Guard, no? Marami tayong cases na hindi sila dumaan sa formal entry and exit, tino-turn over sa atin ng Coast Guard. Ibig sabihin po, yun po ang current na nangyayari sa atin. But on the part sa immigration, kung ano yung available na trabaho namin sa mandato namin, yung ginagawa, but we are appealing din. Kaya nga nakita natin, very old na po yung batas natin, no? 1940 pa. At kailangan natin i-strengthen kasi bagong mga challenges po ito, no? Kailangan natin paigtingin para at least naman mas-secure natin. It's not only about trafficking. It could either be national security din. Yan po ang tinitingnan natin.
Right. Going back po dun sa nabanggit po ninyo kanina na nagsisimula ito sa recruitment via social media, doon po naniniwala yung ating mga kababayan sa mga recruitment strategies nila sa social media. Have we also tapped the ICT regarding this para po makipagtulungan sa inyong investigasyon kung sino man po may-ari ng social media account na yun and etc.?
Yes po, ang ating Interagency Council, no, sila ang pinangunahan to ng Department of Justice at yung DSWD. Kasama doon yung Cybercrime Division ng PNP at yung NBI. Palagi po nilang ginagawa diyon, may na-identify pag mayroon kaming nahuhuli dito sa airport, na-rescue namin sa airport, kino-turn over namin sa ating task force at pagkatapos they conduct investigation at marami silang nakikita. Ina-identify ng ating mga law enforcement agencies na mga social media, mga platform na ginagamit at alam po ninyo, ang bilis kasi na wala na, gagawa na naman sila, very challenging. Kaya ang ating approach dito dapat tingnan din po natin. Mga kababayan natin, makipagtulungan talaga at maniwala tayo, tumingin tayo doon sa mga advices ng ating gobyerno.
Sir, meron na po ba tayong mga nahuli regarding this investigation? Kasi if I'm not mistaken, last year pa po ito nagiging problema, yung mga allegations of tortures, mga nakikita po natin mga videos na mga biktima po, mga Pilipino. Meron na po ba tayong nahuli dyan dito? Mga nag-recruit talaga sa mga Pilipino na mga doon po sa mga na-investigahan po ninyo?
Opo, if you look back sa mga previous na mga balita, no, yung repatriation, even during the repatriation, may mga ni-repatriate pero yung kasama sa repatriated ay isa sa mga nag-recruit sa kanila at sila ay kinasuhan. Ibig sabihin po, tuloy-tuloy po pag dumating po dito, nagkakaroon yan ng investigation at maraming nahuhuli yung ating interagency, yung ating NBI, yung ating PNP.
Okay. Alright, with that, maraming pong salamat. Patuloy po kami makikipag-coordinate po sa inyo regarding this issue for the meantime. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, BI Deputy Spokesperson Melvin Mabula.
Maraming salamat po, mabuhay po kayo.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The bones of the missing Sabongeros could still be recovered in Taal Lake if allegations that were dumped there turn out to be true. That's according to the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST. DOST Chief Renato Solidum Jr. said remains do not decompose easily if they are underneath because oxygen levels decrease. He explained that if the bodies were lying in shallow water, oxidation could lead to the decomposition of the flesh, not bones. Whistleblower Julie Totoy Patidongan earlier revealed that kidnapped Sabongeros were already dead and thrown into the lake.
Oo, yung bones, alam naman natin matagal yan bago they don't really decompose. That's why nga may fossils tayo from caveman era, from yung mga dinosaurs, because ang bones are the last to go.
Yeah, oo.
And then sa loob, ang maganda pa dito, yung bones natin, may pwedeng may component
Pwede
na
ano
not
sa
within the Philippines, papadala mo abroad. So malalaman mo pa rin through DNA testing yung ethnicity,
Kung yun talaga yun
origin.
yung-
I don't know anong protocol niyan, but meron testing sa DNA, hair follicle, saliva, sa bones. But ang effect ng water sa bone density and yung mga components sa loob,
Hindi natin sure eh.
Oo,
Kaya
pero,
nga sinasabi ni DOST Director Renato Solidum, kung mababaw yan, baka pwede pa. 'Di ba makita, hindi pa siya masyado mag-decompose. Pero kung malalim, talagang buto na lang yung makikita natin dyan. And knowing the acidity level ng Taal, pinag-uusapan na natin yan last week pa, medyo mahihirapan daw talaga. So dapat daw magkaroon yung mga cameras, underwater cameras to check na lang kaysa magpunta pa yung mga divers.
basta ang important kung may mahanap tayo, it's kunyari, kung saan tinuro ni Totoy yung mga areas na dinump yung body, and if there are bones in that area, so that corroborates na meron tinapon sa area na yun.
Kasi alam naman natin dito, 'di ba, pag no body no crime yung sinasabi nila, 'di ba? Unless meron mga iba pang mga ebidensya that so far kasi yung mga reports natin based on the allegations of Totoy, 'di ba? Wala pa tayo nakikitang yung concrete evidence. Okay.
All right, another alleged case of hazing has surfaced at the Philippine Military Academy. The victim has been identified as 4th class cadet Maui Bumagat Maragun. According to police, the alleged hazing occurred between September 2 and 29. He was reportedly subjected to a month-long ordeal involving intense physical exercises inside their barracks. However, the PNMA insists this cannot yet be classified as hazing. Their internal investigation suggests it was a case of quarrel among classmates. Despite that, 2 classmates who allegedly physically assaulted Maragun have already been suspended and are not allowed to attend classes for now. Meanwhile, the supposed squad leader, who is an upperclassman, has been sanctioned with 210 days of room confinement and 210 hours of touring as punishment.
It's perpetrated and performed by their classmates. Kumbaga parang sir, is away magkaklase. Nagkakaroon sila ng ng pisikalan, kumbaga. Opo. Kumbaga they vent out their frustration doon sa kanilang classmate. Ayun, every time na siguro may mga hindi sila na perform as a squad.
Kasi di ba yung training dyan sa PMA, kung yung squad mo lags behind, dahil sa isang tao, damay yung buong squad. So siguro napikon. Pero PMA condones these acts already. Pero ang question dito is, if this was happening for a month, bakit hindi nalaman ng PMA authorities?
Then also, going back dun sa isa pang bullying, yung sa Basilan, di ba, yung mga estudyante. So this calls for, talaga, yung ang tawag dito, masusing investigasyon at saka pagpapalaganap ng anti-bullying. Kasi if you can remember tayo, di ba, sa PISA sabi tayo, bullying capital tayo of the world, ang Pilipinas. So, we have that kind of problem na talagang lumalala. So, dapat, natin yan, iniimbestigahan, tsaka gumagawa tayo ng measures para mabawasan at saka mawala na talaga yung
But you have to
bullying sa mga
remember,
eskwelahan as well.
Yung Anti-Bullying Act can cover schools, but although it should cover nationwide, ang problema kasi the PMA, they have their own set of rules there within the military. They have their own structures in place and belief systems, di ba? So if you say...
Pwede kang ma-ostracize kapag ayaw ka nilang kausapin.
Di ba kasi alam natin na the weakest link inside the squad is the whole squad. So in other words, lahat kayo damay-damay. They're trying to teach kasi camaraderie and teamwork. 'Di ba? So kung may mahina na isa, mahina ang lahat. So ang
Yung anti-hazing law, pwede yun.
ang premise kasi nito is damay-damay. Kung may mahina isa, dapat inaangat ng buong team ang isa. Ang problema, imbis na iangat, sinasaktan nila.
But I'm just merely pointing out yung mga nangyayari nga talaga na pagdating sa bullying, ang dami, number 1 ng Pilipino, napakaraming insidente dito ng mga bullying. But you're right also, ang PMA may sarili silang mga laws, but they cannot escape also yung mga
Hindi naman laws, it's just that they have their own system inside.
Yeah, system in place.
It might not be official, but it's what they go by. Just like sa Philippine Marines, di ba? The Philippine Marines have their own system that they go by. It's not necessarily written in stone sa AFP, but they have their own, di ba, no man left behind or things like that.
But doesn't necessarily mean na, di ba, ligtas na sila dyan sa mga
No, I'm not saying
nila.
ligtas sila. I'm just saying they should find a way to monitor this or make these people accountable. Kasi minsan, a lot of these, yung mga namamahala sa PMA are also sa military. And they respect these traditions. So minsan, they turn a blind eye to this eh.
Oy, dumaan din kami dyan na, dapat dumaan lahat ng tao.
Hanggang lumala na pala, may namatay o may nadamay. So kailangan may way tayo of controlling this or totally banning it outright.
And also, yung binabalik ko kanina yung bullying din dun sa Basilan kasi
That was
hindi rin
bad.
maganda yun, di ba?
That was
Niyayaya lang daw manigarilyo, ayaw, tapos binugbog
Hindi
na.
pa nakontento sa sapak, tinuhod pa sa ulo.
Exactly. Alright, in other news, plans to build a bridge to Talim Island in Rizal have been around for years. Some residents support it, hoping for easier access to and from the mainland. But others fear it could do more harm than good. Para bigyan ng mukha ang balita, Mobile Journal, Merimon Reyes.
Tulad sa Boracay kung saan may sinasabing gagawing tulay na magtatawid sa kanilang isla patungong mainland. Yan din ang minamata ng mga taga-Talim Island Rizal kung magiging bukas ang kanilang isla sa land transportation. Matatagpuan sa Laguna de Bay ang largest lake island na pinangalan ng Talim. Isang bahagi nito nasa ilalim ng munisipyo ng Cardona habang ang kalahati naman ay sa Binangonan. Parehong nasasakupan ng probinsya ng Rizal. Bangka lang ang nagagamit ng mga residente para makatawid sa isla. Matagal nang may lumalabas na planong magtayo ng tulay. Kamakailan, muli lumutang ang usaping ito. Ayon sa chairman ng barangay Navotas Talim Island, maganda rin naman kung may tulay ng matatawiran.
Sabi ko, wala naman pong problema kasi madidevelop at yung aming barangay, yung bayan namin, maya ayos. Biro mo, pag may sakit, ibig sabihin kung walang sasakyan, yung travel mo sa bangka, kung wala kang bangka, kung dito may sakyan, kahit anong sakit, pwede kang kung may tuloy, mabilis.
Ganito rin ang sentimiento ng ilang residente, gaya ng pet owner na si Alice. Limitado raw kasi ang access nila sa veterinaryo sa isla.
Nakakatulong lang po sa mga tao, lalo sa mga hayop. At talagang napakahirap. Dahil naglalakas sa hangin, wala kang bangka. Kaya kailangan punta ka pang bayan.
Para sa ilang mangingisda, mapapabilis din ang transportasyon ng kanilang huli patungong bayan kung may tulay. Yun nga lang, nakakatakot lang daw na mapasok ang isla ng masasamang loob.
Kasi pagka may tulay na, siyempre, madami ng tao ang, kung sino-sino tao na ang makakain, imbis na puro kami taga-isla lamang.
Para naman sa mga bangkero, delikado ang kabuhayan nila kapag meron ng tulay. Baka rin daw mapinsala ang lawa at ang isla.
Kasi maliliit yung daan sa gilid niyan. Kung lalagyan po ng tulay dyan, obligado silang bakbakin yung mga palakihin yung daan.
Sa mga apekto yung mga bulubundukin sa atin, mahaba yung magiging kalsada, maraming mga bahay, may posibilidad na maraming pwedeng mangyari maging krimen.
Matuloy man o hindi ang tulay, ang mga otoridad naman daw ay laging nagbabantay sa kaligtasan ng mga taga-loob at labas ng isla.
Ang Philippine Coast Guard Station Rizal naman po ay nakikipagtulungan din po sa mga patuloy na pag-aaral po ng mga kinauukulan. Kami naman po ay nakasuporta po at handa po kaming makapag-issue kagad ng mga permits kasi po kailangan po namin masiguro na meron pa rin po itong waterway clearance kung may sisiguro po namin na maipapatupad po namin ang tamang mga polisiya po.
Hatiman ang opinyon nila, iisa ang nagtutugma. Ang tanging nais nila, ang mapanatili sana ang kaayusan at kaligtasan ng kanilang tahanan. Mobile journalist Marymon Reyes po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Kala ko tatalon si Marymon sa tubig eh. May mga
Walang
special.
transition.
Oo, walang transition. And Marymon ha. Alright, the Zeus Coffee Thunderbells barges into the win column in the PVL on tour after beating the Capital One Solar Spikers. Jovelyn Gonzaga showed her experience with a clutch performance, including the match-clinching point that punctuated a 5-1 run for Zeus Coffee. But it was rookie hitter AC Minor that nabbed player of the game honors, finishing with 18 points, built of 13 attacks and 5 blocks. Zeus Coffee returns to action in Iloilo against Creamline on July 19, while Capital One meets Akari at the Phil Oil Eco Oil Center on July 15. Yun, nabanggit lang natin kay Marymon dahil na-post.
Trending siya eh.
Nag-trending siya sa ginawa niyang report on Manila, yung tumatalon.
Yung lahat daw kasi ng mga areas ng Manila nalinis. Sabi, dito.
Oo. Kala mahirap tumalon dyan eh. Tulay tsaka tubig ang report niya.
Transition queen na tawag sa
Transition. Oy, happy Monday sa lahat.
Yes,
It's another week. So, watch us for the whole week. Madami tayong pag-uusapan, madaming news na i-report. But before I let you go, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote to start the week right. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. I quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And that wraps up to... Pala mo, pagkain eh, no? And that wraps today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.